All right, let's get right into it. For the longest time, we've thought of cancer as this collection of hundreds of totally different diseases. Each one, its own unique, terrifyingly complex problem. But what if that's not the whole story? What if, under all that complexity, every single cancer is actually following the same deadly script?
I mean, that's the core problem, right? The sheer variety is just staggering. Lung cancer acts differently than pancreatic cancer, which is a world away from a brain tumor. So how in the world do you find a common weakness to attack?
And that's exactly what happened. Two researchers, Douglas Hanahan and Robert Weinberg, had this breakthrough idea. They realized that for any cell to become a successful tumor, it doesn't matter where it is in the body, it has to learn the same set of tricks. It has to acquire the same core abilities. They called this the hallmarks of cancer, and it gave us the unifying theory we so desperately needed.
So what this means is, instead of getting lost in a sea of thousands of different genetic mutations, we can zoom out and focus on the capabilities those mutations create. The hallmarks give us a framework, a kind of organizing principle to finally make sense of this incredibly complicated disease.
But here's the crazy part. These hallmarks aren't some alien powers. Nope, they are twisted, corrupted versions of functions our normal cells already use every day. Cancer literally hijacks our own biology. It's a rebellion that starts from within, one single cell at a time.
So let's focus on that one rebel cell. Before it can even dream of building an empire, it first has to break every single rule of civilized cellular society. It has to become the master of its own destiny.
And these are the first 4 moves in its playbook. First, the cell learns to jam its own accelerator, creating its own grow signals, so it never has to wait for permission. Second, it cuts the brakes, completely ignoring the proteins that are supposed to scream stop. Third, it learns to ignore self-destruct orders. See, normal damaged cells are programmed to die. It's called apoptosis. But cancer cells figure out how to disable that critical safety switch. And finally, it achieves this bizarre form of immortality by switching on an enzyme called telomerase, which lets it divide forever and ever.
So when you put them side by side, the contrast is just stark. A normal cell is a team player. It follows the rules for the good of the whole body. The rebel cell, it's a total survivalist. It's completely self-sufficient and laser-focused on one single thing, making more of itself forever.
But, okay, one immortal cell doesn't make a tumor. To go from a tiny cluster to a dangerous mass, our rebel cell needs supplies. It needs infrastructure. It's time to build an empire.
And a huge part of that is something called angiogenesis. The cancer cell basically sends out these chemical signals that trick the body into building brand new blood vessels that lead directly to it. These aren't your normal, neat blood vessels either. They're often leaky, chaotic messes. But they do the job, delivering all the fuel the growing tumor needs to expand.
And this leads to a really critical realization. A tumor isn't just a ball of cancer cells. No way. It's a complex, living ecosystem. It actually recruits and corrupts its neighbors, creating what we now call the tumor microenvironment.
You can think of the rebel cell as a crime boss. It starts recruiting normal, healthy cells from the area to do its dirty work. It tricks fibroblasts into building a physical scaffold for it. It corrupts immune cells to get them to supply growth factors. It brings in parasites and endothelial cells to build those blood vessels. These aren't cancer cells themselves, but they become willing accomplices in the rebellion.
Now, any empire that can't expand is eventually going to fail. And for cancer, the ultimate power move is metastasis, the ability to spread the rebellion to totally different parts of the body. To do that, it has to get past the body's border patrol and security forces.
This whole process is called the invasion metastasis cascade, and it's incredibly difficult. A cell has to first break free from its home, burrow into a blood vessel, survive a really treacherous journey through the bloodstream, then somehow get out at a new spot, and this is the hardest part, start a brand new colony in a totally foreign environment. So, how does a cell that's been stuck in one place its whole life suddenly become a mobile invader? Well, it often reactivates this ancient program from when we were embryos called the EMT. This program literally transforms the cell. It dissolves its connections to its neighbors and gives it the power to crawl through tissue. It's like a regular foot soldier suddenly getting elite special forces training. And through this whole journey, the body's police force, our immune system, is constantly trying to hunt these rebels down. So a successful cancer has to become an expert at evasion. It can pump out signals that paralyze the killer T cells, recruit other immune cells that actually call off the attack, or even just shed its identifying markers to become basically invisible. So those are the main strategies in the playbook. But what makes it all possible? What are the secret weapons that let a cell learn all these dangerous new tricks in the first place? Well, these are what we call the enabling characteristics.
It really comes down to two secret weapons. First, genome instability. The cancer cell's DNA becomes super unstable, which means it can mutate at a crazy fast pace. This creates the raw material for rapid evolution, letting it test out new strategies constantly. And second, tumor-promoting inflammation. Cancer hijacks the body's own wound-healing response, tricking it into creating this constantly inflamed environment that's just flooded with growth factors.
And really, it's that genome instability that acts as the engine for the whole process. It's what allows a single cell to just stumble upon the right combination of mutations it needs to unlock all the other hallmarks, dramatically speeding up its journey from a normal cell to a full-blown malignant tumor.
Okay, so we've laid out the entire playbook. We understand the strategies. This is so much more than just a cool science lesson. Knowing this, really knowing this, fundamentally changes how we fight back. You see, if cancer is just a set of acquired capabilities, then our treatments can be designed as specific counterplays. We don't have to just use these blunt instruments like chemotherapy that kill all fast-growing cells. We can develop drugs that precisely target the exact mechanisms behind each hallmark.
And this new battle plan is incredibly precise. Is the cancer jamming its accelerator with a certain signal? We've got inhibitors for that. Is it building those illicit supply lines through angiogenesis? We've got drugs to block that. Is it using that special enzyme to become immortal? We're developing inhibitors for that too. For every single move in the playbook, we can design a countermove.
Look, this framework doesn't give us one single cure for cancer, because cancer was never a single problem. But it gives us something way more powerful. It gives us a map of the enemy's strategies. It allows us to fight smarter, to develop therapies that dismantle the very abilities that make a cancer cell in the first place. And that, well, that changes everything.